Welcome in, everybody. My name is Gracie Pike, and we appreciate you joining us today for Real Talk with Gracie. I would like y'all to make my first guest welcome. His name is John Breedlove, and he is with the Young Republicans of Walton County in Monroe, Georgia. John is here today because we want to talk about what has been happening in our country in the last month or so. John, I know that this really hit home with you, and it was very emotional for you. And I just would like to start off by you talking about exactly what an impact that it made when Charlie Kirk was taken out like he was.
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you very much for having me here. And you know, the impact that we felt was one of sadness and emptiness. Charlie Kirk was a big part of the Young Republicans' mindset. While he ran Turning Point USA, Young Republicans also worked in conjunction with Turning Point.
Right.
And a lot of our members listened to him constantly. I would listen to his daily, the daily little clips that he would post out. Whenever he had his podcast, I would always try to make it a point to watch it live because he was always there explaining things in a way that our younger generation could understand. And he was always open to hearing other points of view. And after his passing, it felt like there was this big emptiness in the country because he was a vocal person, but he also was understanding of other people.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I will say this, that I know that it impacted young people a lot. But as an older person, me and my husband, we had watched him a lot over time. And I was always amazed at his ability to connect with the younger generation and his ability that it was like a wisdom that God had given him to answer questions in such a wise way.
Exactly. And he also connected with the older generation too. The younger generation connects better with younger people, but he had this special gift where he was able to connect with the younger people and the older people and be able to make them feel heard, which is something that is lacking in today's world where if you say something that you disagree with, you automatically get canceled.
Right.
And it's not a fun time to be around.
No, it's not. It's not, because I mean the thing in America I feel like that's missing the most is God. Yeah. And that was another thing that I appreciated about him, because he was trying to bring that back to the young people.
Exactly.
And I feel like that, it's a shame that in our country today that somebody would take somebody like that out because they disagree. And that's what you were saying earlier. You can't say anything that people disagree with, or you might lose your life.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm glad you brought up the whole God aspect of it. Is it's really rare to hear somebody in the political space, even though he wasn't a politician, he was still in the political space. Somebody in the political space talking about God and actually following through on their word to live a life more like Jesus.
Yeah.
There are certain senators and Congress people and people in the White House who will say, oh, I go to church every Sunday, but you don't actively pursue that lifestyle of, treating others with respect and just being a decent human being. You make decisions that go against what you're standing up there saying.
I agree.
You're with. And it's been a tremendous eye-opening experience, especially with the younger generation, is seeing these people going back to church after this has happened.
Right.
I have talked to numerous amounts of our newer members who are coming in while they're getting involved here, but they are also getting involved in their church, which they haven't been. There was one guy I was talking to. He has never opened his Bible before. He has never gone to a church.
That's awesome.
And he's now going to church and learning more about that because of what Charlie Kirk preached.
Right. Yeah, I mean, one thing that I appreciated about him, and as a young man, I would like to hear your opinion about this, is that he stood for family values and bringing back what I feel like God intended, which is a certain order for a family.
Exactly. And I 100% agree where he was coming from on that. And a lot of people treat Charlie Kirk as like this misogynist who hated women. And because he was like, oh, get back in the kitchen. He never said
No,
a single
right.
one of those things.
Right.
As somebody who watched him like constantly, I can tell you he never said any of that.
Right.
He more of instilled those family values. It's called the nuclear family. Most people
Right.
hear it as, oh, this horrible thing, but no, it's a man, a wife, and 2 kids.
Correct. Correct.
And he would instill that and and explain to people that the role of the woman is to take care of the children.
Right.
She can have a successful life. By no means. Go look at Erica, his now widow. Her life was amazing. It's still amazing. She's extremely successful, but she also understands her role in the family, the family unit. I mean,
because there is an order, and you know me, and we work together, just so that everybody knows. John and I work together, but you know that I'm a very successful businesswoman. I'm very independent. I've been married for 35 years, and I have actually been called a sexist and all kind of things because that I truly believe that God had an order. And I believe that if we would abide by that order in our household, that we wouldn't have all the divorces. We wouldn't have all of the children, going crazy like they are. Because I think that God is at the head of that. And when a man is following God and doing what his mission is for God, and they choose to bring children into that household, the mother needs to be there to nurture those children.
And with God in the household, things go a lot easier.
That's right.
Our divorce rates in this country are up by a lot. It's something like 50-something% of all marriages end in divorce. And most of the time it's because they don't put God in between everything.
That's right.
So I use my parents as a good example, and you're a good example as well, where inside your marriage, it's God's first. Everything is done through God. And if you raise your children through God and you run your life through God, you'll be a lot happier. The arguments that you might have back and forth with your significant other, which is fine because everybody has
everybody
arguments.
does it.
But those arguments aren't as impactful as ones that don't have God in them. Because the mindset is, well, okay, let's solve the problem, let's pray about it, let's have these talks, because that's what the Bible says to do.
Yeah. And I mean, I can tell you, I was raised in a generation that that was just what we did. And so there was not that much divorce in that generation because church was a huge part of most people's life, and God was at the center of most households. And what I find very sad now for me, and as a young man, I think you can attest to this, that people actually are afraid to get into relationships. People are afraid to get married because all they see at the end of that is a divorce. And I've literally heard young people say, well, if it don't work out, I'll get a divorce. That's insane to me, because the minute you say that, you're going to get a divorce.
A marriage is a covenant between a man and a woman and God.
And God. That's right.
It's not a covenant between a man and a woman.
That's right.
And your generation was raised with church at the center. Everybody went to church on Sundays. You had that family. And
about 4 times a week, actually.
Yeah, there you go. Showing off there a little bit.
Yeah.
But I'm very fortunate because my family household was raised that way. That's how my parents raised me. But I have, and I don't like comparing myself to other people, but I have friends who have basically the same exact life I did. The only difference is they didn't go to church on Sundays. They didn't talk about God with their family. And looking at where they're at now, they got married. One of them is divorced. One of them has 2 children. And they're not even married. They don't even, the dad is nowhere in the picture.
Right.
And it's fascinating watching that. And if you look at the drop-off rate of church attendees by family and the divorce rate, they match up.
For sure.
It's 100% a match up.
Yeah.
And it's funny that people just don't see it that way. And watching Charlie preach that to the younger generation was always something that I kind of looked up to. That is, I shouldn't be afraid to get married. I just need to wait to find the right person.
Correct.
Just don't go.
And I'll tell you this, and this is just a little bit of extra advice for you, that my dad told me this, and I've been married for 35 years, and he always said to me, he said, the scriptures say, do not be unequally yoked together. And people just don't even act like that scripture exists. And what that means that you have to stand on the same values, because the Bible says that you can't walk together unless you be agreed.
Yeah.
So if you're not agreed on your relationship with God, then you're not going to be agreed on most things.
Yeah. There was a Charlie Kirk he was doing his Ask Me Anything question, and one of the persons stood up. He's like, "Hey, I'm a devout Christian, and my girlfriend at the time is an atheist, and how do I make this relationship work?" He asked Charlie Kirk that, and Charlie said, "Do you want the nice answer, or do you want the straight to the point?" And he asked for the straight to the point, and he said, "Break up with her right now." Because a relationship where somebody is claiming that they're an atheist, by the way, most people aren't atheists. They're just upset at God.
Correct.
But
That's another show you and I'll talk about later. Yeah.
Most people who are who claim that they're atheists will spend their entire time arguing against somebody who is Christian.
Right.
And that's not a healthy relationship in any stretch of the imagination. Even if it's not a girlfriend, boyfriend, or marriage, it's a friendship thing.
Yeah.
Somebody who's going to argue your fundamentals with you constantly and point out how wrong you are, you can't live like that.
Yeah. I do want to tell you this story. My nephew, he had been married and divorced, and then he met a young lady who did not have a relationship with God at all. And he ended up dating her, and he ended up marrying her. And she agreed that he could raise their children in the Christian faith. She wasn't, anti that. She just was like, she just didn't
care.
Yeah. And she was never raised in it from, what I understand. And he just prayed about it because he was already in that relationship. And she was riding down the road one day listening to Christian music, and all of a sudden, like, she had this experience that was unbelievable. And now she is probably one of the most stout Christian people that I know. And it's been amazing to watch that transition. So I know God can bring people from that, but we should, before we get married, understand where that person stands. Because if you don't stand on the same foundation, then you're never going to make it.
Exactly. And I love that you brought up that they were praying about it and everything. And people, I find it funny when people say prayer doesn't work.
Yeah. No, trust me.
God will work in his own time. And I have friends who were agnostic and everything. And I would pray about it. I'd be like, hey, I just hope that, they have they come to some realization that God, that they're not going to be upset at God. And a lot of those people are in the Christian life now.
Yeah.
Because all you have to do is constantly pray.
That's right.
God will take care of them.
Yeah. We listened to this story when I was young, and we had these cassette tapes, because I'm from that generation, that we would listen to, and they were all based on, like, it was either teaching a lesson or it was a Bible story. And there was one lesson that I always loved, the story, that it was a lesson telling about how God sometimes says yes, sometimes God says no, but then sometimes God simply says, wait a while. And that's the problem, I think, with this generation, is that, or where I see it, and you could speak on this, that everything is so right here, and they want everything right now. So even when a relationship and all these things, they just want to rush into it. They want to do it right now.
Yeah, we call it in our household the Amazon mindset.
Yeah,
is where you ask for something, and in the world we live in, where I'm not going to complain about Amazon shipping, it's amazing, but in the world we live in, you can order something, you have it right there,
right?
Or I can pull up my phone and have the answers to a lot
That's
of
right.
things. And that mindset that my generation has transferred it over to religion, which is not a healthy thing.
Correct. No, I agree.
Trying to rush God is not going to work.
No, it's not.
I have learned the hard way on that. And trying to explain that to the younger generation, it's a lot harder than you might think.
And I mean, that's why I respected Charlie Kirk, is because he never was religious. He never tried to shove religion down people's throat. He's just like, this is where I stand, and I will tell you my experience.
Yes.
Because I stand that way.
Exactly. And so we've had an influx of people coming into the YR, and over the course of the past months, just because of everything that's going on. And everybody's asking, I've had multiple people ask me, what is your stance on religion as an organization in the YR? And the response that we always have is all of us on the board and everybody here is a Christian.
Right.
We try to live like God, and like Jesus.
Right.
And we while we transfer those values over to the way we run things, we're not gonna stand up and we're gonna argue with you about where you're at, because everybody's in a different place in their relationship with God. And a lot of people have now started to understand where we're coming from on that, where our base values are Christian, and everything we do is through Christian. But we're not going to stand there and argue with you and belittle you because you have a different relationship with God.
Right.
So,
and I mean, that's the reason, I mean, I'll be honest, that's the reason I wanted to have you on today, is because that I see what has happened, and it's like this revival that's broken out amongst the young people after this Charlie Kirk's death. And I really wanted to do this, and I know that it's been, 6 weeks now?
We're close to that.
That this has happened, and I wanted to have you on here, and I want to keep reminding the young people, let's not just let this just die out now.
Yeah.
Let's keep this going. Let's remember, what he stood for, and let's be in his place now to stand up in our counties and in our towns and in our states for that same thing.
And it's not going to be easy either.
No, it's not.
And anybody who's been in any type of relationship, whether it's a friendship, marriage, or anything like that, they understand that standing on something constantly and defending it is not the easiest thing.
No, correct.
And especially for Christians over the past, it's been about 30 years of constant, the sky bully is running your lives, or this or that, and constantly coming from the left side of the government is if you're. Well, a lot of the Christians are kind of used to it, and I can kind of stand on my beliefs and continue that because I don't need to worry about it. But a lot of these younger generations don't know how to stand on their beliefs.
Well, I think the reason I loved what he done so much, and I love what's happening right now, is that I've often said this, and I will continue to say this, that the reason our world has gotten in the shape that it's in is because that Christians, just like you said, it started years ago. You have all of these people that if they want to fight for their rights, they'll get out in our streets and they'll march and they'll do whatever it takes to get people's attention to say, this is what we are. Christians will sit on the church bench. Christians will sit in their living room and they'll all discuss what needs to happen. They'll all discuss how terrible it is that they've taken God out of our schools and they've done, but they won't actually get up and do something about it. And he was actually getting out there doing something about it. And I'm hoping that this will continue with your generation.
Exactly. And I've been talking about it for the past year and a half is at what point do you take up a sword to defend your God?
Right.
And a lot of people have become really passive. They've been beat down. They've been beat down by the government here in the country and all across the world. And I think a lot of people have come to the realization that they're no longer wanting to deal with the constant hatred that's headed their way.
Right.
I get hatred constantly when people find out that I'm Christian and I'm a Republican and I'm a white male. So I get like the triple whammy.
No,
on
I
that.
get it.
But I think a lot of people are finally waking up and staying engaged. And we've seen that increase in attendance and engagement with our policies and everything that's moving along there.
Yeah, I mean, I'll probably get in trouble for saying this, but I had this discussion with somebody the other day that honestly, young men like you that are white Republican men, and especially Christian, they have the least rights in this country.
Yes,
like
100%.
Yeah,
I can in every way, shape, and form.
Yeah.
When I was trying to start my business up, I was looking at like grant opportunities and everything, and I was going down the list, and it was the grant for the bisexual, lesbian, or whatever African American child foundation.
Yes, for everything.
And I'm sitting here going, there isn't a grant for people like me.
No.
And I'm not saying that it's harder for other people, but it feels like it's harder for me.
No, I get that.
In general.
No, I get that completely because I've actually looked into that because it's like amazed me that they're even for women, you know, as a woman-owned company, I have all of these things I can apply for and I can do. But if a man starts a company like me, and that's why I get kind of frustrated when people say I'm a sexist, because I'm like, no, I'm just looking at the facts. I'm looking at the truth. I'm not trying to put men above anybody. I feel like that's what's happening, you know, across the board, whether it's with women or men, whether it's with races, whether it's with Republican, Democrat, whatever it is. I think it's this whole fight to be equal. And it's like, are y'all kidding? We are.
We are equal in the eyes of God.
Correct. We are equal. It's just a matter of our mindset that makes us unequal.
We have been pitted against each other for so long.
Correct.
Especially from the past 50 years is where you're no matter what you're applying for, the color of your skin or your gender or anything like that is the determining factor in where you are in your life.
Right. And it should not be.
It should not be.
No,
everybody in this country has equal footing. If you are an American, you have every opportunity to come up from poverty to become the president of the United States.
Right.
It doesn't. There are so many people out there. There's a senator from I always get it backwards. I think he's South Carolina. He might be North Carolina. His name is Tim Scott. He grew up dirt poor, and when I mean dirt poor, he was living in a shack under and he realized that he didn't want to be like that. And now he is a state senator. He is one of the first people in his family to go to college, to get a degree, and to become successful in his life. And he didn't get any help because he's a Republican. And we'll get there, but
Yeah, I mean, I'm really glad that I got to talk to you about this today, because I get myself in trouble because I just say what I say. You know what I mean? And I just think that's a problem in society, period, is that everybody will talk to you one way and then they'll like walk out of the room and they'll say what they really feel. Yeah. I'm not that person. I want to say what I really feel to you, and that way we can have the discussion.
Exactly.
And that's kind of how me and my husband have stayed together for 35 years, is that there's like a joke about us that, you know, we just say what we're going to say and then we get past it, and we really do. And, but I think that's the problem in this country, is that we don't really talk about
the issues.
We skirt around them.
Exactly. And it's because, you know, my feelings might get hurt or whatever excuse they want to come up with. Life is tough. Like it is what it is. I'm like you. I'm not going to sugarcoat, you know, the fact that the situation that you're in currently sucks. Let's talk about getting out of that situation.
Right.
But I'm not going to, you know, spare your feelings and get you 5% of the way there when I can just be honest and get you 100% of the way there and help you out.
Yeah, my dad had this saying that, well, I loved it and I still love it. People would say, well, you're going to offend them. And he'd say, well, maybe they need to be offended.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So maybe there's a lot of people that need to be offended, and then they'll wake up and go, oh, well, let me think about that.
And it's not me trying to be mean to anybody. I don't want to be mean to anybody.
Right.
But I'm not gonna spare my statements from you because it's gonna make you feel uncomfortable.
Right.
Because guess what? The Bible makes you feel uncomfortable sometimes.
Correct.
But you still get there in the end.
Yeah.
So why can't I live like that, where, you know, something that's going to make you uncomfortable, but it'll get you there instead of making you feel comfortable, and you'll never progress in your life.
That's right. Yeah. I mean, here's where I stand right now is that I look at the Bible and I see that we're in a time that the Bible has spoken about, where that it will be a point where you're going to take up a sword to defend Christianity, because Christians have let it just go and go and go and go until now, even though we're the majority, which is crazy when I think about that. You know, we're the ones that's being suppressed and not being able to say, yes, I believe in God. This is where I stand on my faith. And it's like you and I, we may not agree on every single aspect of religion, and that's okay. That's okay. We can still love each other. We can still talk to each other. We can still be honest with each other. And that's what I want to see. That's why I wanted to have you here today, because we're of a different generation. You know, we don't talk a lot about religion because we work together.
Yeah.
But I mean, I know that, you know, we have differences of opinion on that. I think we have different opinion on a lot of things, but we can still talk about it.
Yeah. It's okay to have a different opinion.
And the Bible says, come and let us reason together.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And people in this in the modern world feel like you have to hold on to that opinion like it's your child.
Yeah.
And you're making it a priority to be like, oh, I'm not going to change my mind. And in reality, you need to be open to changing your mind. And I might not convince you entirely, but you might convince me on something, and oh no, I changed my mind. There's nothing wrong with changing that mind.
No, it's not at all. And sometimes if you just listen, you'll hear things that you didn't even realize. Like I had a conversation with somebody that was on the left, and after we had a discussion, and she was very open to listen to me, she looked at me and she said, gosh, I've never even considered that. Because she's been programmed and heard so many things that sometimes if we'll just listen to one another, we'll walk away going, wow, let me think about that.
They might have a better solution to the problem that you didn't think of. There are a few things that I actually agree with. Some of the points on the left, not everything.
No, look, I say the same thing. Like I'm not like way to the right, and I'm definitely not to the left, but I'm somewhere in the middle of that.
Like the left screaming about home care costs, like buying a house and everything. I agree. The housing market is a nightmare.
Right.
As somebody who is 24 years old, we were talking about this yesterday.
Yep.
I will never be able to buy a house at the rate we're
Right.
going. So I do agree with them that there's a problem. I don't agree with the solution that they have, but we can come to an agreement that would work for both parties. But I did notice that you brought up the fact that we're at a point where we need to take up a sword and defend our God and everything, and I think a lot of people, they're getting to the point where they need to do that. But we've been in this nightmare for a while, for a long time, and we just became comfortable with it. Yep. But now it's time to get out of your comfort zone.
Yep. Y'all, thank y'all so much for joining us today and listening to John and I. I appreciate you coming and talking to me, John. John, I wanted to have him here, and I'm going to say something, and y'all are going to see the shock on his face when I say this. But I had this conversation with somebody yesterday that John may be our future president. So just hang around, because I may be the first one to have ever interviewed him. And I will remind him of this when that happens. Y'all, thank y'all. I hope you like and subscribe. I hope you enjoyed the conversation. If you have questions, if you have comments, please comment. Follow us. Join us the next time, because we'll be back to talk to you again. Y'all have a good evening.